Just for a few of the others to join in, and then we can get started. Okay, right, guys, let's get started then. So for anyone that joined in a little bit after, I said if you guys have any audio or video issues at all, please let me know. Right. So guys, without further ado, a very warm welcome to your first session of Econ as part of the Nanaska AL revision seminar. So my name is Amar Ramli. I will be your lecturer for today. So to keep things very brief, just a little bit about me. I am CIMA qualified. I have a first-class degree in economics and management from the University of London. I've been lecturing at Nanaska for the last 3 years or so. Nanaska as an institute has been around for the last 10 years or so. We've produced over 10,000 qualified CIMA management accountants, several world prizes and country prizes in the process. So I'm pretty sure that most of y'all are familiar with CIMA, but just in the off case that you aren't, CIMA is the largest management accountancy qualification in the world, but I do not want you guys thinking that it is just an accountancy qualification, guys. CIMA is more so of a management qualification, right? And when you hopefully start your CIMA journey with us one day, you'll see that there are people from a variety of disciplines, from lawyers to doctors to engineers, because whatever field you're in, CIMA adds value to you and is sort of like a stamp in your passport that gives you entry into any organization, right? But before you guys hopefully start your CIMA journey, we need to focus on the task at hand, which is our A-levels, right? So the plan, guys, over the next couple of weeks is pretty simple. Me and the other lecturer for economics, Mr. Dilpahan, will be essentially doing a little bit of a crash course for y'all, where we take y'all through a few of the recent past papers. I will be handling the grade 12 portion of the syllabus. Mr. Dilpahan will be handling the grade 13 portion of the syllabus. And yeah, as for what we are going to be doing today, we are going to be looking at the first 3 chapters, right? And essentially, like I said, going through a few key questions. We're not going to be doing everything, guys. For the interest of time, we can't focus on everything. But yeah, just sharing a few tips and tricks and insights and discussing a few answers as to what we'll be doing. So guys, make this session interactive. If you have any questions, please do ask. If I'm not clear at any point, please let me know. Okay. So guys, I hope that's good. And are we good to get started? Is everyone ready to get today's session started? Okay, perfect. All right. So let me share my screen for you guys. Okay. So guys, this is your 2017 paper, right? So I'm pretty sure you guys are very familiar with the structure of the paper by now. For your MCQs, of which you have 50 MCQs to attempt, you have 2 hours, right? So essentially, guys, it is not just a case of getting the questions right on the day. It is also a case of managing your time well, right? So if you have 2 hours for 50 questions, that's roughly about 2.5 minutes for each question, right? So that doesn't mean you need to finish every question in 2.5 minutes, but as long as you finish a few questions quickly, you can take a little bit more time with a few other questions as well, right? But as long as you are efficient with your time, all right? So let's get into the first question. Which one of the following is not a factor of production? Okay, so essentially, guys, not a factor of production means we need to first remember what are our factors of production. So essentially, there are 4, if you guys remember, right? There is land, there's labor, there is capital, and there is enterprise or entrepreneurship, whatever you're more comfortable with. Right, guys, also as we're working along, if you do happen to know the answers beforehand, by all means, you're free to put them in the chat as well. Okay, right, entrepreneurship. So essentially, what this question looks like is where they've given us 5 options, right? There are only 4 factors of production. So most likely the 4 factors of production are given in these options, and there's one that is the odd one out, right? So let's analyze and see what we can match and cross off. So I see entrepreneurship already. I told you the name for that is enterprise, so that is okay, right? So 5 is clearly not our answer. I see capital here. So capital is also here. Okay, looking great. What about the remaining 3 options? 1, 2, and 4. Okay. Natural resources, human resources, right? What are these resources that they're talking about? So essentially, land. What is land? Now, land, guys, if you think about it, is all the natural resources that you have available to you. From the fish you get from the sea, to the water you can get from the river, to the crops that you get from the land, to the gold that you can extract. All of those form part of what we call land. But if we go to explain that a little differently, it is simply everything or all the resources given to you by nature, right? So what is another name for that? Natural resources. So 1 is clearly land, right? What about 2? Human resources. Okay, let's have a look at what labor is all about. Labor essentially talks about the effort from people. Yeah. So essentially you have your physical labor and you have your mental labor, right? So physical labor is basically most of your blue collar workers, right? That get their hands dirty and, operate machines, clean sewers, this and that. That is physical labor. Mental labor is more of your white collar workers, your accountants, your IT people that sit in the office and essentially use more of their mental labor, their tacit knowledge, their ability to make judgments mentally. Okay. So that is what is meant by, so essentially in short, it is labor that we get from people, right? Human resources. There we go. So that is your answer. 4 is the odd one out. Money is your answer, right? So I saw a few of those in the chat. So guys, very well done. Remember, if I'm not clear at any point, please let me know and we can go through it again. Okay. 2 is about scarcity, right? So what is scarcity talking about here? What is scarcity, first of all, right? So let's think. What does the word scarce mean? The word scarce means something that is finite, right? Something is rare, right? So when it comes to scarcity, what is scarce here? What is scarce? What is scarce is essentially what I'm saying is you have a lot of something and you only have a little bit of something else. And this particular thing is scarce, right? So what is in excess here and what is scarce here, right? What is in excess is wants. Now, guys, if you think about it, wants are unlimited, right? Now, essentially, you might want a Rolex, you might want a Mercedes Benz, you might want an apartment in Trillium, right? You might want to go for a movie every day in one golf face. Your wants are unlimited. You want an unlimited amount of things, right? So your wants are unlimited. So then my question turns to you and I ask you, what's stopping you from buying a Rolex, going for a movie every day, eating out at Shangri-La every day? What stops you from doing that? What stops you from doing that is when you open your wallet and see you don't have that much money, right? So guys, we want a lot of things. Unfortunately, we are constrained by our finances, and we say not so much so money, but resources. Resources are scarce, right? Now, for example, guys, if resources were unlimited, you could ensure everyone in the country has housing, everyone in the country has access to education, everyone in the country has access to food, right? But unfortunately, resources are limited, and there are still people who live under the conditions of poverty because of that. Okay, so essentially, that is what scarcity is all about. So let's run through our options. Exists in only developing economies, right? So developing economies are countries that are still kind of in the process of growing, right? Developed economies are countries like the US, the UK, your Western countries. Essentially, they are more developed. Now, if you think about it, guys, no, the problems of poverty and things like that still exist there as well, right? So does it exist only in countries like Sri Lanka and India? No, no, no. They exist everywhere, all right? Exists only in market economies? No, right? A market economy is a country that is an economy that operates through the price mechanism, right? Through the free market. But no, they exist in command economies as well, right? If you look at maybe countries like Cuba over time or North Korea, they still have issues of poverty as well, okay? Exists because the price of goods and services are too high, exists now but will be eliminated with economic growth? Not really, guys, right? Those are problems that maybe, you know, might fix it for a short period of time, but in the long period of time, not so much so, okay? So exists because of limited resources. That looks like the right answer. So 5 will be our answer here. So let's have a look at the chat, guys, to see what we're talking about. Inability of limited resources, as Rochelle say. Yes, that is correct. Inability of limited resources to satisfy unlimited wants. So Shazna had the correct answer as well. Is production and consumption considered as economic resources? Not quite. Your economic resources are your factors of production. Yeah. So when someone says economic resources, what you have to think is, okay, factors of production: land, labor, capital, enterprise. Okay. Those are your 4 economic resources or your 4 factors of production. Okay. Can we share the answers? So guys, yes, we are discussing the answers like this. So I don't have a soft copy of the answers available, but I will try and get one for you guys and share that on the group. Okay. But before we talk about the answers, guys, does everyone have access to these questions? Can I get a quick show of hands in the chat? Does everyone have access to these questions or no? It doesn't have to be a soft copy, but even a hard copy if you guys have. Do you guys have access to 2017, 2018, 2019 at least? Okay, cool. All right. So if anyone doesn't have access to these, please let me know. The answers, I will work on getting you guys a soft copy. In the off chance I can't do that, I'll even type it up and send it. Okay. So not to worry. All right. Let's look at 3. Which of the following is assumed in constructing a production possibility curve? Right. So guys, a production possibility curve, first of all, have that, you know, that image in mind as to what this production possibility curve looks like. It looks like this. Not always, but for the most part, it looks like this. Right. So when it comes to your production possibility curve, guys, we make certain assumptions. Right? Now, essentially, the assumption that we make is there are about 4. Right? One of those assumptions, guys, is that you only produce 2 goods and services. That is one assumption. Right? Another assumption is, guys, that all your resources are fully employed. Right? They're fully employed and they are being used efficiently. Right? It's basic. What I mean by that is, if you have 100 people who can work for you in your country, right? There aren't 98 people working. There are 97 people working. If those 100 people are meant to be working 8 hours, 100 people are not working 6 hours, 7 hours, 30 minutes. No, they're working 8 hours, right? So essentially, those are few of the assumptions that the PPC is constructed using. One more assumption that the PPC is constructed using is the fact that your resources for the most part and your technology are fixed. They're given, right? That is another thing to keep in mind when it comes to the PPC, right? Your production possibility curve. So let's have a look at some of these options. The economy is using its resources inefficiently. Come on, guys, I just told you, efficient, right? So that's not there. Resources are utilized to produce only private goods. No. So guys, a private good is essentially produced by the private sector. You charge a good or you charge a nominal price for it. Whereas a public good sometimes is charged, sometimes it's free of cost, it's subsidized, but they are still, resources are allocated towards that as well. Now, for example, guys, government schools, right? Your public hospitals. Now, all of these guys, they're public goods. How are they there? Because we've allocated resources to them, right? So no, resources are not only utilized for private goods. Full employment, but not full production is being realized. Both, guys, both, right? With full employment comes full production. Why? Because there is full efficiency, okay? There is no inflation in the economy. Now, guys, that is not really a relevant point because we're not talking about prices here, right? We're just talking about, look, you have a certain amount of resources. How much can you produce with those resources? That's what we're talking about, okay? So production technology is fixed. Isn't that one of the things we said? It is one of the things we said, right? I said you have a fixed endowment of resources, of technology, of knowledge. Those things remain fixed, okay? So for your answer for 3 is 4. Okay, so let's have a look at what you guys are saying in the chat. Right, perfect, perfect. You guys are getting the right answer, which is lovely to see. Let's have a look at option 4. An economy has achieved productive efficiency when? Okay, so guys, when it comes to the PPC, even though it's this simple looking curve like this, it is actually really useful. Yeah, and that's why it is examined frequently. If you notice, guys, this is a question that's always there, right? Either as a MCQ or either as a short response question. It's always there. It's always there. And the reason for that, guys, is because the PPC gives you a lot of insight, right? There are a lot of things you can kind of take from your PPC, right? Now, one of those things, guys, is you can show several things on this. You can show concepts like a recession, like a war, like scarcity, opportunity cost. There's so many things you can show on this. Another thing that you can show on a PPC is 2 things, actually. One thing is efficiency, and under that, you have 2 things. Productive efficiency, allocative efficiency. What are these 2 things? What do they mean? Let's start with the one they're not asking for, allocative efficiency, right? Now, allocative efficiency. Now, the thing is, guys, in Econ, there are a lot of things to remember, right? So where possible, guys, try and make your life a little bit easy, right? Try and remember things in a little bit of a smarter way, right? Instead of just memorizing everything, try and say, okay, allocative efficiency. What is being allocated efficiently? Resources. So essentially, when it comes to allocative efficiency, we say that resources are allocated to the goods and services that are most demanded. Okay, that is the definition of allocative efficiency. And on top of that, we say it's a point where your marginal benefit equals your marginal cost, or we say it's a point where your price equals your marginal cost. Those satisfy the conditions of allocative efficiency. All right. So next up, what is productive efficiency? Productive efficiency, guys, is the other side of the coin. Productive efficiency basically says, look, you have 100 resources now. With these 100 resources, are you or are you not producing as much as you can produce, right? If you're producing as much you can produce, super job, productive efficiency. If you're not, then you're productively inefficient, right? So essentially, how do you show productive efficiency? Let's talk about, it's not asked for, but for our knowledge, let's talk and see, how do you show productive efficiency? You show productive efficiency, guys, by, does anyone know how you show productive efficiency on a PPC? Any guesses as to how you illustrate productive efficiency on a PPC? If you guys know, please put it in the chat. Okay, right, guys, spot on, right? Any point on the PPC, here, These are the points that show you productive efficiency, right? These are the points that show you productive efficiency. Why? Why? Now, guys, think of it like this. Now, I didn't tell you all the definition of productive efficiency still. What is the definition? The definition is you carry out production at the lowest possible cost. That is what is meant by productive efficiency. You carry out production at the lowest possible cost, right? Later, when we move into chapter 4, we're going to learn cost curves. Yeah, we're going to learn cost curves, your average cost curve. You carry out production here, this point, at the very bottom, the minimum of your LRAC, right? At the very minimum of your LRAC. So that being said, right? That being said, when it comes to your PPC, why do you show it on the curve? You show it on the curve because now, what did I tell you? You have 100 people. Yeah. If you're here on the curve, it means these 100 people are producing the maximum you can produce. Yeah. That means these 100 people are producing 1,000 units. So what would your cost for one unit be here? If 1,000 units are 100, right? Or let's take it the other way. How much can one worker produce? One worker can produce 10 units. Yeah. You're as efficient as you can be. Very efficient. Very efficient. Right? You're as efficient as you can be. So let's look at a case where we're not productively efficient. Yeah. Where we're inefficient. 100 people, 900 goods. Now, one person can only produce 9 units. You are productively inefficient. Yeah, if you're productively inefficient, it will be the opposite. You're somewhere inside the curve, right? You're somewhere inside the curve. Okay, right. So, guys, are we all clear so far? Are we good so far? Is anyone confused? Does anyone have any questions, or are we okay? Okay, good stuff, guys. Good stuff. Remember, if at any time you're confused, you can stop and ask, guys. Also, I hope most of you guys are on the WhatsApp group, right? Our numbers are there as well. For anyone that wants to reach out about anything, I will write my number here. Okay. Right. If you guys have any questions in general at all, right? Doesn't have to be about these chapters, but in general, if you need anything, please reach out. Okay. Just a call or text away. We're always here to help. So please reach out if there's anything. Okay. Right. Let's get back to the questions. So what would your answer be here? What would your answer be here? Right. It is unable to produce more of one good without producing less of another, right? Now, guys, this is your answer. One is your answer, right? These two, marginal cost of producing each good is equal to its price. That is allocative efficiency. Remember, I told you P equals to MC, price equals to marginal cost. There we go. That's allocative efficiency. The resources are allocated to produce goods and services most wanted by society. Allocative efficiency. One, it is unable to produce more of one good without producing less of another. Why is that statement true, guys? Because if I am here, okay, if I'm here and I'm producing good X, if I want to go from point A to point B, yeah, so basically I want to produce more of good Y, yeah, I want to produce more of good Y. Can I produce more of good Y without producing less of good X? I can't. I can't do that. I can't do that, right? And that is another implication of productive efficiency. If you're on the PPC, yeah, if you're on it, then you can't produce more of something without sacrificing something else. So, guys, again, just for discussion's sake, what is that term called? For me to produce more of something, I have to give up something else. Is there a name for that, guys? Giving up something else to enjoy more of something else? Is there a name for something like that that we use? Something about a next best alternative foregone, maybe? Yes, guys, very well done. Opportunity cost. opportunity cost. Okay, and I hope most of you are clear and familiar as to how to calculate opportunity cost. It is essentially the slope of your PPC, right? The slope, guys, is your, what is it? This give up over gain. If you read the PPC this way, it is what you give up over what you gain. Okay, that is how you get your opportunity cost. Okay. Right. So guys, again, incorporating more concepts. It's one question, but look at how many different things we are covering. Right. So if we look at this, guys, if we look at this particular curve, right? What can you tell me about the opportunity cost? Let me actually redraw this. Let's say we go from A to B. Okay. We start at A, we go to B. What can you tell me about the opportunity cost? How does it move? The opportunity cost here to the opportunity cost here. Does it stay the same? As in the opportunity cost at the top and the bottom are the same? Does it increase as we go from here to here? Or does it decrease as we go from here to here? What do you guys think? What do you guys think? It increases. It increases. Right? And guys, it is so easy to figure that out because I mean, look, put another small point here, like C, okay? And look at, to gain this much of good X, look at how much of good Y you have to give up. Versus here, to gain that same amount of good X, right? The same amount of good X. Look at how much Y you have to give up now. Right? You have to give up a lot more Y to gain that little bit of X. Okay. So essentially, guys, the shape of this PPC is something we call a concave. It's a concave shape. Okay. A concave shape means opportunity cost increases as we go from here to here. Okay. If you get an opportunity cost curve or a PPC rather, like this, which is a straight line, then you say opportunity cost remains constant. It remains constant because guys, your gaps will be the same, right? From there to there, from here to here, your gaps will be the same. If you're dealing with a PPC that looks like this, right? A straight line, then opportunity cost remains the same. Nothing to worry about. Okay. Right. Let's move. Right. So 5, guys, is a pretty simple question. Let's skip past that. Let's have a look at 6. Right. The main function of prices in a market economy is to. Right. So guys, first of all, before talking about the answer, any of that, can you guys tell me how many functions does price have in a market economy? How many functions does price have in a market economy? You don't need to name them. If you tell me how many there are, I'm happy with that. Okay, guys, super stuff. 3, right? Now, what are those 3 functions, guys? Right? What are they? Those 3 functions, guys. Now, like I said, you can't remember everything, guys, right? You all aren't just doing econ, right? You're probably doing accounting and BS as well. So it's very difficult to remember everything. So like I said, guys, come up with small tips and tricks to make it easy for you. So how I remember these functions is through an acronym. Yeah. Okay. Through this. So what is the first function? Signaling. It acts as a signal. I, what is it? Incentive. Basically tells producers, look, if this is price of this is rising, you have an incentive to earn more, produce more of this. Last one, rationing, right? Why is rationing here? What is rationing about? Rationing, guys, because of scarcity. You don't have unlimited resources. You have a limited amount of resources. What the price mechanism does is it allocates those resources not to all the goods and services, guys. We can't produce all the goods and services. We can't produce all the goods and services in the quantities that me and you need. We can't do that, right? We have to allocate our resources to the goods and services that are in the most demand, that are hot right now, right? That is where we have to allocate our resources, right? So resources are rationed in that regard, right? They're rationed to the goods and services that have the most demand. Okay, right. So that being said, guys, super stuff. You guys also know the names of the functions in advance. Great stuff. Okay, let's have a look. The main function of prices in a market economy. Let's look. Does anything match SIR for us? Generate more profits to the entrepreneurs? Not really. Guide households to choose investment opportunities? Not really. Determine the elasticity? Definitely not. Improve the distribution of income? No, guys. They don't help with that, right? Prices, the market economy, guys, that's the one thing people say. In a command economy, there's at least somewhat of a more equal distribution. Yeah, there's more equality, there's more equity in a command economy. Not so much the case in a market economy, guys. Okay. Allocate scarce resources among their alternative uses. Isn't that the rationing mechanism? It is. It is. And that's why it comes here, right? That's why it comes here. Okay. Right. Right. Which one of the following change in the following factors cause the market demand for a good to remain unchanged? Okay. So guys, this is a pretty easy question. What do you guys think the answer of this is? It's a very simple question, guys. Like, take a little bit of time to understand the question, but once it clicks, answer should be like that. You don't need 2.5 minutes for this. This is a 20-second question at most, right? So let's see what you guys are saying. Right, right. So your answer here is going to be 2. It's going to be 2. Why? Why? Right. So guys, the important thing for you all to understand is this, right? I saw a lot of 2s in the chat, which is very nice to see. Guys, the demand curve, what do you put on the axis? X-axis is quantity, right? Y-axis is price. Price of what good? This good. If we're talking about the demand for, I don't know, let's say milk powder, yeah, because milk powder is clearly high in demand these days. You put price of milk powder here and quantity of milk powder here. Okay. So now what happens if the price of milk powder were to change? Now already the price of milk powder is pretty high, right? But let's say we are somewhere like here, yeah. Maybe you can buy 2 packets of milk powder for 400 bucks. Yeah. Now, what happens if the price of milk powder, guys, maybe rises to 600, let's say? Then you buy 1 packet of milk powder, because now you say, my God, it's too expensive, right? I guess we're going to have to stop drinking the evening tea, right? That's the type of conversation you're going to have in your house at that point, right? Because it's expensive now. My God, we can't afford this anymore. So that being said, this, guys, is not a movement of the curve. Understand that. It's not a movement of the curve. It is a movement along the curve. It is a movement along the curve. Okay? It is a movement along the curve. Why? You have one curve, you're going up and down like this. Along it, right? Follow-up question for you. Clearly, we can see demand is, coming down. Now, if I look at this and I say, guys, you have to tell me whether my statement to you is true or false. Okay, this is not related to the question, guys. We're just going on a little bit of a tangent, right? I'm going to say a statement. Tell me if it's true or false. The rise in the price of milk powder has caused demand for milk powder to decrease. True or false? If you want me to repeat, you can say repeat in the chat. If you've heard me once, please let me know your answer. Okay, so the rise in the price of milk powder has caused demand for milk powder to decrease. Okay, the rise in the price of milk powder has caused demand for milk powder to decrease. Listen to every single word I said and tell me whether it's true or whether it's false. Okay, okay, right. So guys, that statement is false. False. Why? Why is it false? It is false, guys, because of one word not being there. Now, when I say, has milk powder, are we buying less milk powder? Shall I say that first? Yes, we are buying less milk powder. True, true. We're buying less milk powder. But when I say there is a decrease in demand, right? When I say there is a decrease in demand, that is not this. A decrease in demand is not a movement along the curve. A decrease in demand is a shift of the curve. Shift of the curve, right? For a given price, I now consume less. For a given price, I now consume less. This is a decrease in demand. When your demand curve shifts to the left, decrease in demand. Decrease in demand. For a given price, I am now buying a smaller quantity. What did I draw? I didn't draw a decrease in demand. I drew a decrease in quantity demanded. I drew a decrease in quantity demanded. Okay. What was the word that was missing? This, quantity, quantity, right? Guys, this is a contraction along the demand curve, right? A contraction along the demand curve, a movement upward along the demand curve, or a decrease in quantity demanded. It is not a decrease in demand. This is a decrease in demand. Okay. So the point I'm trying to get across to you is when the price of a good changes, right? When the price of a good changes, it is a movement along the curve. It is not a movement off the curve. Understand that. When the price of an own good, if I'm talking about milk powder, the price of milk powder changes, the milk powder curve doesn't shift. The demand for milk powder curve doesn't shift. You move along it. You move along it, right? What causes the demand curve for milk powder to shift? That is not price of the own good anyway. It is the changes in other factors. Changes in other factors. Like what? Like what? Maybe smaller population. Yeah. Guys, if there are fewer people in the country, in total, won't there be less demand for milk powder? Now, if 100 million people demand for 500 million kilograms of rice a year, 80 million people might derive for 400 million grams of rice a year. Yeah. So that if there are less people in general, whatever the good is, there is less demand, right? What about income? If you're talking about a normal good, right? If you're talking about a normal good, if you have less income, you'll buy less of it, right? Has price changed? No, price has not changed, but demand has come down. Demand has come down, right? There might be a substitute. There might be a substitute for milk powder. Yeah, there might be this new powder that we can use instead of milk powder. Now, for example, if that becomes cheaper, people like it, right? People will want to buy more of it. So if they turn their attention to that, they'll buy less of this. Has the price of this changed? No, price has not changed, but demand has come down. Demand has come down, right? So it is changes in other factors that cause your demand curve to shift. Changes in price cause a movement along. Okay, guys, that is a very, very important concept that you need to be crystal clear on, right? So guys, in my discussion, I told you about something called a normal good, right? So while we are talking, let's maybe talk about what this normal good is. Yeah. So a normal good, guys, is a good that has a positive relationship with income. What does that mean? When income goes up, you buy more of the good. Simple, positive, right? So now, guys, can you all give me some examples of normal goods that you all buy? Yeah, an everyday normal good that you all buy. Anything? What is an everyday normal good that you all purchase? If you have more money, you'll buy more of this. Can be anything you all buy. Right, something soap, milk, nice. Yeah, so guys, you can pretty much say anything. I mean, if you have more money, you'll buy more cars. If you have more money, you'll buy more, more houses. If you have more money, you'll go for more movies. Those are all normal goods, guys, right? So the fact that I am talking about this whole normal good concept means there must be something else, right? Normal good must be one side of the coin. What is the other side of the coin? Is there something called abnormal good or an unnormal good? No. There's something though called an inferior good. There is something called an inferior good. There is something called an inferior good. What is an inferior good? What did I tell you? It's the opposite side of the coin, right? If this is positive, this is negative. When income goes up, you buy less of it. Now, guys, with normal good, when I asked you all for examples, you can tell me anything. Do you guys have any examples of inferior goods that you can tell me? Anything that comes to mind where I have more money, now I am buying less of this. Okay, right, guys, good options coming through. So one of the best examples of a inferior good is public transport. But the thing is, guys, even this is a little bit, controversial now, because if you look at countries like Singapore, guys, their public transport is better than private transport, right? I mean, if you go in the MRT there, it's cheap, it's quick, and it's very comfortable also, right? So, there are slight variations to the examples that we can use, but in general, like in a country like Sri Lanka, for example, public transport is an inferior good because the more money you have, it's less likely that you would travel on the train or the bus to work. Yeah, you probably buy a car, you take an Uber, right? That. Another example of an inferior good, guys, is in America, you have these things called thrift shops, guys, right? Thrift shops, guys, are basically like where you wear an item once, yeah, you don't like the item, right? And the store is not taking it back from you, right? Or the store has taken it back from you, but the store doesn't want to stock it. So they sell it to this thrift shop. Now, if this item normally costs about 1,000, thrift shop will say, I'll pay you like 700 for it, right? And then, or 600 for it. And then you also think, look, might as well get some money for it. You will give it to them. So essentially what these thrift shops are is all second-hand clothing. It's all second-hand clothing, all second-hand items, previously worn items, used items, right? Little bit damaged, little bit of color gone, little bit of fabric come out. That is what a thrift shop is. Now, essentially, if you are someone that is short on money, you'll probably buy from these thrift shops, right? But the moment you have more money, guys, you'd probably go and buy brand new clothes, right? Why are you going to buy the second-hand handbag? Go and buy a brand new handbag, right? So that. So guys, when we bring things back here, your answer is 2. Right? Because all these 1, 3, 5, 4, guys, these are all other factors, guys. Right? They're all other factors. Okay. The only factor that doesn't affect it is 2. Okay. Let's look at 8. Which one of the following combinations of income and price elasticity of demand is consistent with a normal good which has a downward sloping demand curve? Okay. Right. So guys, first of all, what is income elasticity of demand? What is price elasticity of demand? Both of these guys, what is the common word? The common word is elasticity. Common word is elasticity. Okay. What is elasticity all about? Elasticity is how much something stretches. Yeah. How responsive something is. What are we talking about responsiveness to? So PED, price elasticity, the responsiveness of demand to price. Okay, clear. What about income elasticity of demand, right? Sometimes you call this IED or YED, right? What are we checking the responsiveness of demand to? Income. Okay, now we're clear. Now we're clear. Okay, so let's talk about PED first, guys. Now, the formulas for these guys are very simple. Right? Now, arc elasticity is a little bit complicated, but point elasticity is generally very simple, right? Generally, if you have the relevant figures, you can just do percentage change in quantity demanded over percentage change in price. Okay, percentage change in quantity demanded over percentage change in price. Now, guys, in the same way, before I was comparing income for you with demand for you, what is the relationship between price of a good and demand of that good, generally speaking? What is the relationship between price and demand? In what way do they move? Do they move up together, down together? Do they move one up, one down? What is the relationship generally between price and demand? So are they positive? Are they negative? Are they positive? Are they inverse? Guys, super stuff. They're inverse. They're negative. So, guys, what you have to realize is whether you get an answer that is elastic or inelastic, your PED is always going to be negative. Always going to be negative. It can never be anything other than that. It's always negative, right? PED is always negative. That's not going to change. But the result of PED based on what the number is going to change. So now you put some numbers in this calculation, you will get some answers, right? You will get some answers. Based on the answers you get, we have different types of PED. Okay. This is -1. This is minus infinity. This is 0. Okay. If you're between 0 and -1, you have what we call inelastic demand. If you're between -1 and infinity, basically, guys, the answer of this, yeah, this equals to something, no? This question mark. If this question mark is between 0 and -1, then your PED is inelastic. If it's between -1 and minus infinity, it is elastic. If it is 0, then what is it? It is perfectly inelastic. It's inelastic is 0 -1. This is very corner at the very edge. Perfectly inelastic. Perfectly inelastic. What about -1? -1, guys, is generally something we call unitary. Unitary. And this, if this is perfectly inelastic, this is perfectly elastic. Perfectly elastic, right? So guys, when it comes to what do these mean? Yeah, because I told you numbers, I told you names. What do these different things mean? So when it comes to inelastic, guys, what that means is when price changes, right? When price changes, quantity does not change by as much as price. Basically, what I'm saying is the percentage change in price is greater than the percentage change in quantity demanded. So if price, for example, guys, let's ignore the minus signs for the time being. We all know now it's minus. So let's say price changes by 20%. Quantity demanded will change by 10%. Or quantity demanded will change by 5%. Right? That's PED. That's PED. Right? Of inelastic. Inelastic. Inelastic basically means, guys, price is changing by a lot, but quantity demanded doesn't change by that much. That is inelastic. That is inelastic. So, guys, what would an inelastic demand curve look like? It is steep. Now, a normal demand curve, guys, if it looks like this, right? An inelastic demand curve, guys, looks like this. It looks like this. It's a little more steep. Yeah, if a normal demand curve is like this is like this. Okay, right. That is inelastic. What about perfectly inelastic? Now, guys, essentially, perfectly inelastic is a straight line. It's a vertical straight line like that. Why? Why? What is the definition, let's say, of perfect inelastic? Now, inelastic is where when price changes, quantity doesn't change by much. Yeah, it changes by a little bit. Perfectly inelastic is where when price changes, quantity doesn't move. It stays exactly the same. It doesn't change at all, right? It doesn't change at all. When price changes, quantity doesn't change at all. Now, for example, if you notice, price is changing. Do you see quantity moving? No, it stays the same. It stays the same. So, guys, if you notice, perfectly inelastic is like this. Inelastic is like this. Elastic will be like this. Right? Sometimes they would draw a hyperbola. We won't get into that. This shape is fine. It's a middle slant, right? What is unitary, guys? What do you think unitary is? Unitary is where percentage change in quantity demanded equals percentage change in price. So if quantity demanded changes by 20% or if price changes by 20%, quantity demanded also changes by 20%. Okay, right. Elastic, percentage change in quantity demanded is greater than the percentage change in price. So this will be 30% for this 20%. What does this curve look like? It's more flat. It's more flat. Yeah, if a regular curve is like this is like this, right? What about perfectly elastic? Guys, perfectly elastic is where at a given price, quantity is infinity, right? At a given price, quantity is infinity. There's an infinite quantity demanded. Right? Or a change in price causes an infinite change in quantity demanded. And what does that look like? It looks like this. So, guys, essentially, perfectly inelastic is here, inelastic is here, unitary is here, elastic is here, perfectly elastic is here. Follow it like that. Follow it like that. Right? Only learn one definition, guys. Learn one definition, and after that, just think, remember these things, and then extend that. Okay? Right. So, guys, that is a very thorough analysis of elasticity or PED anyway. So, guys, now when you see a downward sloping demand curve itself talks about a negative relationship between price and quantity demanded. So because of that, guys, PED can't be positive, right? PED can't be positive. PED also can't be zero. Why? What is zero, guys? What did we just say? PED of zero means what type of inelasticity or what type of elasticity? A PED of zero. Well done. Perfectly inelastic, guys. Perfectly inelastic. Okay. So essentially, when it comes to PED, it is a figure of zero is perfectly inelastic. Okay. It is perfectly inelastic. So the thing is, guys, it's not zero. Why? Because they've told you it is downward sloping. It is downward sloping. So clearly your answer has to be one of these two. It has to be one of these two, right? And guys, generally, generally speaking, your income elasticity of demand is positive. It is positive because we deal with normal goods for the most part, right? So 2 would be your answer here. Okay, right. So guys, 9, no need to get into that. But since we're spending so much of time talking about elasticity, guys, why don't we do a calculation? Yeah. Question number 10. Question number 10. Okay. I want to give you guys a minute or so. Give this question a go. Give this question a go and tell me what you guys get. Right, I won't give you guys too long, maybe just a minute or two. Yeah, and then we'll discuss. So here, guys, you're being given a cross elasticity, right? We've spoken about PED. We've spoken about income elasticity. There's something called elasticity of supply. Yeah, PES. This is cross elasticity. This is cross elasticity. What does cross elasticity measure? The effect of quantity demanded, or rather, the responsiveness of quantity demanded to the change in price of another good, not this good, right? If I am milk powder and quantity of milk powder, not how I respond to changes in the price of milk powder. No. How do I respond to changes in the price of another good? Okay, that is what cross price elasticity is all about. Okay, formula, guys, is very similar, right? Formula is very similar. So percentage change in quantity demanded over percentage change in price of that other good. Okay, that is what is spoken about here. Okay, guys, love to see some answers coming through. Good stuff, good stuff. I'll give you a little bit more, right? So teens a bit more. Yeah, and then we'll discuss. Okay, cool. Guys, you guys look very well prepared. Very nice to see. You guys are all telling me it's answer number 5. Okay, let's see how it's number 5. Right. So cross elasticity of demand is sometimes called XED, right? It's where the percentage change in quantity demanded over the percentage change in the price of another good. Yeah, so let's say this is QDX. This will be price of Y. Yeah, cool. So let's have a look. An increase in the price of rice has caused demand for bread to rise by 30%. Okay, right. So guys, 30%, or you can write it as a percentage even, as a decimal rather, sorry, 0.3. The cross elastic demand between rice and bread is 3. Which change in the price of rice has brought this about? Okay. So to my understanding, guys, they are not asking me to find XED here. They've told me what XED is, right? XED is 3. So they're asking me to find this, right? Which is percentage change in the price of the other good, right? So what do? Simple cross multiplication. 0.3 divided by 3, x equals 0.1. Yeah, but let's convert this to a percentage. 10%. In other words, there has been a 10% change in price of the other good, right? Of the other good. Okay. So basically, guys, what you have to do is you have to, for each of these options, see where is there a 10% increase in price. Now here it goes from 80 to 90. So 10 over 80, guys, is not 10%. 60 to 72. That is about a 20% increase. 80 to 85, guys, again, not a 10% increase. 70 to 80, not a 10% increase. 80 to 88, That's a 10% increase. As you guys correctly told me, 5 is your answer. 5 is your answer. Okay, right. So guys, now when it comes to a few more things on the note of elasticity, I took you all through different types of PED, right? A scale. I took you all through a big scale. I want you to know for PES also that scale is there. It's the same scale. Only thing is here the figures are negative, here the figures are positive. Why? PED, price and demand, have a negative or inverse relationship. PES is the opposite. Price and supply have a positive relationship. That is what the law of supply tells you. PED, the law of demand, tells you that the relationship is inverse. Okay, right. So guys, now let's talk a little bit about YED, income elasticity of demand, or IED, depends on what you guys are comfortable with, and XED. Yeah, because I don't think I told you guys about this. So let's see. Right. YED, guys, you need to understand there can be two main types of results. Okay, there are breakdowns of positive and negative, but let's not get into that for the time being. Positive, what does that mean? Income goes up, quantity goes up. So this is something we've learned. This is a normal good, right? Yes. You get a YED result that is positive, we call it a normal good. Right. Negative. Negative, what does that mean? When Y goes up, Q comes down. Remember the thrift shop example, guys? Yeah, it's an inferior good. It's an inferior good. Perfect. Right. XED, guys. XED. Positive. 0. Negative. These are the three possible results you can get for XED, or cross price elasticity of demand. Three possible results. Right. Here, the price of Y rises, quantity of X goes up. Price of Y rises, quantity of X doesn't change. Okay. Price of Y rises, quantity of X comes down. Wow. Okay. So, in the same way, I could say this was normal, this is inferior. What am I going to say here? What am I going to say here? What am I going to say here? Let's see. Let's see. Okay. So guys, to explain the first one, yeah, positive result, to explain that, I'm going to give you an example of Pepsi and Coca-Cola. Okay. Let's say, guys, now you are throwing a party. Yeah, you're throwing a party for your friends. It's coming to the end of the year, right? Having a New Year's party. And you can buy either Pepsi or Coke. You can either buy Pepsi or Coke. Now, normally a bottle of Pepsi might cost you 500. A bottle of Coke might also cost you 500. Now, what has happened is Coca-Cola has raised their price 500 to 600. 500 to 600. Right? So, Coca-Cola here, guys, is good Y. Okay. Coca-Cola is good Y. That means Pepsi is good X. So, essentially, when the price of Coca-Cola rises, guys, will you all want to buy more Coke or will you all want to buy more Pepsi? What will you guys buy? When the price of Coca-Cola rises, will you guys as consumers want to buy more Pepsi or more Coke for your party? Yeah. You guys are right. Pepsi. Pepsi. Why? Pepsi is cheaper, guys. Right? Now, if you have 6,000 rupees to spend on drinks, guys, right? You can only buy 10 bottles of Coke. You can buy 10 bottles of, you can buy 10 bottles of Coke. You can buy 12 bottles of Pepsi. Right? You can buy 12 bottles of Pepsi. So, essentially, what are Pepsi and Coke? Right? Because clearly they follow this, which means clearly they have a positive XED relationship. So what can we say about these type of goods? They are substitute goods. Substitute goods, right? Basically means they are like competitor products. More of this means less of this. More of this means less of this. XED, positive. What is zero? What is zero? Basically, guys, it's like saying the price of Coca-Cola rises. The price of Coca-Cola rises, what happens to how many jeans that Levi's is able to sell? Now, you might be wondering, what type of connection is there, right? What type of connection is there between how much Pepsi with the price of Pepsi and how many jeans you sell? Exactly. There is no connection. There is no connection. And that is why XCD is 0. The goods are what we say where they are unrelated. They are unrelated. Don't worry about them, unrelated. Okay? Right. What about this? For this, guys, now let's say you can't just give Pepsi to people now, right? You can't get them to drink from the bottle. I know a lot of us do it, but you can't just drink from the bottle. You need to have some cups ready. Yeah. So you have to buy cups also. You have to buy cups also. So guys, if the price of Pepsi rises, you're going to buy less Pepsi. Yeah, you buy less Pepsi. And if you buy less Pepsi, you need less cups also, right? I mean, if you are buying 5 bottles, yeah, I have 50 cups. If you're buying 4 bottles, I have 40 cups. So because the price of Pepsi rises, you buy less Pepsi and you buy less cups. Cups are good X here. And we say these two goods are what we call complements. They're complementary products, which basically means, guys, you buy them hand in hand. If you buy this, you get this. Buy this, you buy this, right? Complementary products. Complementary products. Okay? Righto. So essentially, let's have a look at so we did this question. Let's have a look at question 11. Yeah, let's have a look at question 11 and question 12. Then I think we can move into a few long response questions maybe. Okay. Question 11. Guys, equilibrium is a beautiful thing. Isn't it? It's so nice. Like, look, right? Quantity demanded equals quantity supply. Equilibrium price, equilibrium quantity, everything is right in the world. Yeah. Only problem is, guys, the government sometimes doesn't like this. They don't like this, but not for bad reasons. Sometimes it's for good reasons, right? Now, let's say, guys, the good we're talking about, for example, is rice. Yeah, it's rice. Now, guys, rice is a staple product. It's a staple product. For Sri Lankans, guys, it's a minimum of 1 meal a day. Some people have it twice, some people have it all 3. Yeah. So rice is clearly a very important product. It's an essential for Sri Lanka. It's not an essential in the West, but it's an essential here. Yeah. So that being said, now this price might be maybe 200 rupees a kilo. But that being said, guys, this is still a lot of money for some people, right? It's a lot of money and they can't afford it. But I also said it's an essential. So if you can't afford an essential, there's clearly a problem, right? As the government of country, sometimes you have to step in and say, no, right? I can't let people go hungry. So what happens? They can introduce something called a maximum price. They can introduce something called a maximum price. Yeah. Or you call this a price ceiling. Price ceiling. Okay. Which basically, guys, a price ceiling is, like I said, it's a maximum price, which basically means it is the maximum price that you can charge. You can't charge more than that. Yeah. You can't charge this. You can't charge this. You have to charge this. You can't charge this. Okay. You have to charge this. Okay. So guys, when you charge a low price, who is happy? Consumers like me and you, or producers? Who is happy? Consumers or producers? Yeah. Me and you, consumers, guys, food is cheap now. Why won't we be happy? We'll be really happy. So guys, if you look at this price, yeah, if you look at this price, demand is all the way over here. So guys, if someone is happy, there might be someone who's unhappy. Who is unhappy is the producers. The producers are not happy. They're like, no, what is this? Why are we getting a lower price? Their supply is over here. So guys, I have a question for you. Where will the new market equilibrium be? Will it remain at Q? Will it be at QD? Will it be at QS? Where will it be? Where will it be? Where will the new equilibrium be? Okay, so I'm seeing some QS, I'm seeing some QD. Anyone thinks it could be Q? What do we think? I'll give you guys a little bit of time to think about it. Okay, so guys, remember, for equilibrium to happen, what consumers want should be what producers are willing to give. In this case, consumers want this, producers are willing to give this. So how much ends up being traded in the market? It will be this, because guys, a million people want an iPhone, but on the opening day, there might only be 100,000 people selling an iPhone. Now, for example, if you take the new Spider-Man movie, for example, guys, right? Very, very popular these days, talk of the town, right? Now, there might be everyone from, every person who's young to old to middle age who wants to go for that movie on the premiere day, right? But could everyone go? No, everyone couldn't go. Why? There might be a demand of 1,000 people. There might only be 100 tickets available. So how many people end up watching the movie on the day? 100. Same thing here. Same thing here, right? So essentially, we say with a price ceiling, there is excess demand. There is excess demand. Why? Demand is here, supply is here. Excess demand. Okay. And excess demand, guys, also means there is a shortage, right? There's a shortage. There's a shortage, right? That essentially what that means, guys, is a lot of people want it. There's not enough of it. Shortage. Same thing with milk powder, right? Everyone wants it. There's just not enough to go around. Okay. That's what happens here. That's what happens here. So essentially, that sometimes, guys, creates a black market where suppliers realize, look, it's unfair for us, right? We are doing all of this, right? And we are getting this price. Not fair. What happens is sometimes people will buy from the normal market. They'll go to the black market and they'll sell it at this price. They'll sell it at this price. Okay. So that's a bad thing about a price ceiling. Creates a black market. It can create a black market. Okay. So we've clearly looked at a scenario where you will lower the price from equilibrium. There's also something else where you charge a higher price, right? This is called a minimum price, right? The minimum you can charge is this. The minimum you can charge is this, right? Demand, supply. So guys, another question for you. What will be the final quantity traded in this market? Is it QD, Q, or QS? This is called a price flow, okay? The lowest price you can charge. Let me know what you guys think. Very well done, guys, right? It is QD. Why? Guys, you can have suppliers selling millions and millions and millions of products, right? But what actually gets traded is what people are willing to buy, right? What people are willing to buy. Okay. So essentially, right? If people are willing to buy 100, even if you sell 1,000, only 100 are getting sold, right? So QD is what you end up trading. Okay. And this creates something known as excess supply or a surplus. A surplus. A surplus. Okay. Right. Guys, bringing things back here, what do you think your answer for 11 would be? What do you think your answer for 11 would be? So guys, the question basically is question 11. Okay. What is the answer for question 11? Give you guys a little bit more. Let me know what you guys get. Yeah, we just went through this. So think, understand, and let us know what you get. Okay, right, guys, let's discuss. Which of the following is true in the market for a certain product? If producers are consistently willing to sell more than the going price and consumers are willing to buy. So it sounds like they want to sell 1,000, people only buying 100. That's what it sounds like to me anyway, right? And if that's what it sounds like, then that is clearly a point where you have a price flow. You have a price flow. You have a minimum price, right? You are holding the price above equilibrium. You're not letting it come down. You're holding it above. That is the only place where suppliers want to sell more. Why? They get more money. That's why they want to sell more, right? So 5 is your answer. Very well done, guys. Very well done. Okay. Right. So guys, question 12. Question 12. Give this a go. Let me know what you'll get. Right? Very common question, guys. Very, very common question. Let me know what you'll get here. Give you guys a minute or so. Okay. Guys, you're all getting the correct answer. Very well done. So what are they asking for, guys? Equilibrium, quantity, and price. Now, it's very, very important you're clear on this, guys, because you are given questions on tax. You are given question on consumer surplus. You are given questions on producer surplus, right? Subsidies, tech, like so many variations of this. So you need to be crystal clear with the base. If you have your base, then the rest falls into place as well. Okay. So essentially, what are we doing here? Now they're asking you for equilibrium, quantity, and price. Yeah. So essentially, at equilibrium, don't quantity demanded and quantity supplied equal one another? They do. They do. Right? Because why this? You remember this exactly on the spot. Exactly on the spot. Right? So because of that, we can equate these two equations. Equation 1 equals equation 2. QD equals QS. So what do we get? 80 minus 2P equals minus 20 plus 3P. Yeah, so take your like terms to each side. Comes 100 by P. Price equals 20. Now that your price equal 20, guys, just substitute that into your supply function or your demand function. Either one is fine. I'm going to substitute into demand. 80 minus 2 into 20. Answer is 40 for quantity. Okay, so guys, excellent job there. Okay, right, guys, so that is 12 out of the way as well. We've done a good chunk of MCQs, but it wasn't just MCQs, guys. It was more of a theory discussion. Yeah, and we covered a lot of key areas through that. Okay, so what I now want us to do is turn our attention to a few longer response questions. Okay, right. So guys, you can give me very short answers for these because these are actually things we've discussed as well. What would your answer for A be? Have a read through the question, okay, and tell me what you get for this. It's something we have discussed. If we need to discuss it again, it's okay. We can discuss it again. But what do you guys think the answer is? Again, no need long explanations, guys. I mean, these for the most part are, questions where you can just give letters or say yes, no, or so give me answers like that. Right? But when you're writing, guys, you have to write. Okay, when you're writing the paper, you can't have the same answers you give here. Explain what you're doing, right? Talk the examiner through your thought process, guys. Okay. I always say, always write your answers like you're writing to someone that doesn't even know what econ is. Okay. That is what will help you get marks. Because that way, guys, you don't skip on any explanations. You explain everything to the smallest possible step. And you show, because of that, you show how much you know. And that is what gets you marks. Okay. Right. So guys, I'll give you about few minutes, few seconds more, right? And then let's have a look. Guys, answer is yes, right? We spoke about this earlier, right? When your PPC is concave, that clearly illustrates a situation where your opportunity costs are increasing. We also did an example, I'm not going to go through it again, and I think we are clear. Okay, right, guys, give B a go. What do you guys think B would be? Okay, so I'll give you a hint before you give across your answer. Look at the two types of goods that we are producing here. That is my hint. Give me your answer. Think of this question in a little bit more of a practical way. Okay. And that also, guys, always approach questions with that same practical mindset. Don't just approach it thinking, it's a question, two random goods, I will answer the questions. No. Look at the question, understand the question, understand what you're being asked, understand why you're being given these particular goods, right? That. Guys, you're correct. T is the answer. T is the answer. So the thing is, guys, I guess my question is, why not M? Why not M? So if someone were to ask you that, why not M? You know, I mean, you clearly are going to war, right? You're going to war, you need military goods. Yeah. Now, y'all are saying T has more military goods, but doesn't M have more military goods than T? Yes. I agree. But the thing is, this also, guys, you need to realize is just because you're going to war, there needs to be a country to come back to. Your people at home can't starve because you have put all your resources towards military equipment. Doesn't make sense. Yeah. So while you do have to allocate a little bit more to your military, right? You at the same time have to have a certain amount of goods for your local people as well. You need civilian goods. You need civil goods. You can't use everything for the military, right? Because if you're using everything for the military, guys, what are the people going to eat? They'll starve, right? So T is a good balance that says, hey, you know, we have some civilian goods for you all, but at the same time, we also have a lot more military goods to help us prepare for war. Okay, right. C. Give C a go, guys. So, guys, for those of you that are a little bit foggy as to what a recession is basically the opposite of economic growth. Economic growth is where our country is doing well, economy is growing, jobs are increasing, right? Employment is increasing, output is increasing. Recession is the opposite. It's where the economy is slowing down, becoming a little smaller. That's what happens here. Okay. Guys, you're right. You're right. You go from K, the starting point, to U. Why? Because, guys, in a recession, it's now, I said at the start, one of the assumptions you make is that technology, the state of technology is constant and you are pretty fixed in terms of your resources. So if you have 100 people, you have 100 people. Yeah. So, guys, when you go through a recession, some of those people become unemployed. Yeah, some of those people don't have jobs anymore. They're not contributing to the country's output anymore. So the country can't produce as much as it can produce. Not anyways like before. So what happens is you as a country now produce less. You produce less, right? You produce a little less and you end up here within the curve. So you go from K to U. Okay, so guys, that is correct. That is correct. Okay, righto. So guys, question as in part number 2. State 3 reasons that explain why the division of labor increases an economy's level of production. Okay. So guys, another thing when you're approaching these papers, especially this section B, always try and understand how the marks are given. Okay, always try and understand how the marks are given. So in each of these first 3 questions, guys, 1 mark will clearly be allocated for telling the correct point. K to U, K to T, that is 1 mark. The other point, guys, will be for the explanation that you give. Yeah. So that being said, guys, if you're given 1 mark for an explanation, don't stay there writing 3, 4, 5 lines. No, you're given 1 mark for the explanation, guys, right? 1 to 2 lines, finish it, save your time, move to the next. right? So that having an understanding of how many marks you're given makes it a lot easier for you to know how much to write and manage your time. Because otherwise, guys, what happens is you write a hell of a lot for a question where you don't have a lot of marks, and for a question where actually has a lot of marks, you write a little bit. Doesn't serve the purpose, right? So always be clear on how many marks and then write accordingly. Again, that's where breaking the question down and knowing and understanding how you're given marks comes in handy. Okay, right. So let's have a look at question part 2. Like I said, state 3 reasons that explain why the division of labor increases an economy's level of production. Right. So key term is, they've said 3 reasons. They've made it bold. Okay, so I have to give three marks. Okay, 1 reason for each of the marks. Okay, clear, understood. What is this division of labor? What is this division of labor? This division of labor, guys, works a little like this. Let me show you. Let's say you have 5 machines. Yeah, and you had 5 employees. John, Jill, Jack, Martha, Stuart. Okay, you have 5 employees, you have 5 machines. Now, every day you have to do a certain amount of work on each machine. Each machine, guys, is different. They're operated differently, they work differently, the processes are different, right? They do different things. Each machine does a different thing. Okay. Now, scenario number 1. Scenario number 1 is where you say, look, I have 5 machines, I have 5 employees. What I want is, John, you will work 1 hour in A, then you switch to B, then you switch to C, then you switch to D, then you switch to E. So basically, John starts here, Jack starts here, Jill starts here, and each time they finish an hour, they move to the right, and they switch to the new machine, and they switch to the new machine, right? In other words, each employee spends 5 hours a day working. Each hour is spent on a different machine. Each hour is spent on a different machine. That is scenario 1. That is scenario 1. That is a case where we say you're a little bit self-sufficient. You do everything to a level by yourself. Okay. What about 2? 2 is a scenario where different manager says, hey, instead of doing something like this, why don't John operate A, Jack operate B, Jill operate C, Martha operate D, Stuart operate E. Now, scenario number 2 is called division of labor or specialization. Specialization. Division of labor or specialization. Okay. So basically what that means, guys, is where one person does one thing. That's it. 5 hours a day, I will work in A. 5 hours a day, I'll work in C. 5 hours a day, I'll work in D. That is what division of labor specialization is. So the question then turns to, what are the reasons as to why this helps increase production? In other words, why is division of labor better? That is what they're asking you for. That is what they're asking you for. They're not asking you for 1 reason. They're not asking you for 2. They're asking you for 3. They're asking you for 3. That being said, what are those 3 reasons? What are those 3 reasons? Guys, to be honest, there are a lot more than 3. There are probably like 6, 7, 8, right? It's just up to you in terms of what you want to tell. Yeah. As long as you give 3, guys, don't try and be too smart and give 4 and 5. It's a waste, right? If they ask for 3, give 3, nothing more. You don't get extra marks. So essentially, what here are some of those reasons? Now, some of those reasons, guys, could be, let's think off the top of our head. Let's think very practically, right? So number 1, guys, If I stay in one machine the whole day, I don't need to leave that machine, right? I don't need to get up from here and walk here. Yeah, I don't. So that being said, right? I save time. I save time. Yeah, I save time. That's one advantage. Advantage number two. Advantage number two. Advantage number two can be now if I operate the same machine 5 hours a day, every day, the next 2-3 years, guys, don't you think I will know this machine like inside and out? Like I'll know everything about this, right? I'll know everything. So for example, if there is something that we can do to make this machine better, if there's some way to increase the efficiency, if there's an idea about this machine, right? If there's something we can do to augment it, make it better, I am a master of this machine. So if anyone is going to give that idea, it's going to be me, right? Why? I know this machine, right? It's all I do. It's all I use, right? Whereas, guys, if I was operating each machine only for 1 hour a day, I will know how to use 5 machines, but I won't know how to use one of them very well. It's always just like, okay, I know it a little bit, right? But here, I know one machine really well, really, really well, okay? And the implications of that is I can come up with better suggestions for innovations. I can come up with ideas because I know this, right? I know this. Okay, that's two. What could be our third reason? Well, our third reason, guys, could be this. Our third reason is, guys, essentially what you have to understand is that as people, we are very different, right? Different people have different competencies, different people have different skills, different people have different strengths, right? Now, I might be very good at economics. Someone else might be very good at accounting. Someone else might be very good at business studies, right? Now, essentially, what division of labor, the heart of division of labor is become specialized. Why are you going to do everything? Do one thing, right? I mean, you can't do that for A-levels, but when you go into the corporate world, guys, you don't, do everything. You do one thing, learn one thing, become good at that. There are some people who, wear different hats and they can do different things. But regardless, there are some people, guys, for example, if you're a developer, you become a full stack developer, you're only that. You're the best at that, right? You become a specialist and a master at that. And the result is, guys, what takes someone 5 hours to do a task, you can do in about 50 minutes, 30 minutes. Why? Because you're a master, you're a pro, right? That specialization makes you very efficient, makes you very, very good at what you do. And the fact that you're so efficient is what helps to boost up production. Yeah, and it makes you really efficient, basically. Okay. So those, guys, are your 3 reasons as to why division of labor increases an economy's level of production. Okay, right. So, guys, next up, 3. So, guys, when it comes to 3, I mean, you don't need to give me, I guess, the full response, but just tell me, how would you show scarcity on a PPC? How would you show scarcity? How would you show scarcity on a PPC? Yes, guys, very well done. Very, very well done. How you show your scarcity is like this. Draw PPC. Say something like this PPC is drawn for maybe 100 workers and 10 machines. Good X, Y, 50, 30. Point A I can consume, which is 10 of Y and 50 of X. But can I enjoy a point like B? P is about 10 of Y and maybe 80 of X. Now this, guys, you can't enjoy this. Why? This is your boundary. This is your wall, right? These are the resources that allow you to produce that. Can you produce this? Yeah, you can produce this if you had more resources, but you don't. And that is the whole point of scarcity. The amount of resources you have are not enough to combat this. They're not enough to get you all the things you want. That's not enough to satisfy everything. This is how you show scarcity. Okay, so I think most of you guys did get the idea. Very well done. Very well done. Okay, let's take a look at 4. Guys, 4, can you guys tell me what the 3 functions are? Don't need to explain them, but just tell me what they are. I think we discussed this earlier, if I'm not mistaken. What do you guys think the 3 functions of prices are in a market economy? Is it 3? Could be 5, could be 2. I don't really remember. I'm counting on you guys to tell me. Nice, nice, guys. Right? It is signaling, incentive, and rationing. Those are your 3 answers. So essentially, SIR. Easy to remember. Right? So those are the functions prices serve, guys. Don't just mention them. Have a 1-line explanation as to what they are. Okay. State the disadvantages of a command economy, guys. I'm seeing 4 marks here. Yeah, so I'm going to have 4 points. Right? If I see 4 marks, I'm having 4 points. I'm not taking a chance. Right. So guys, what is a command economy? First of all, guys, try and explain to the examiner a little bit and say, essentially try and explain to the examiner a little bit and say what this command economy is all about. Yeah, try and explain to the examiner and say what this command economy is all about. Okay, and maybe give him an example. Yeah, so you can basically say a command economy is where the central economic decisions of what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce are in the hands of a central authority that coordinates those decisions. An example of an economy that follows this is Cuba or North Korea. Cuba in the 1970s, North Korea to this day. So that being said, what are the disadvantages? Let's see. Even if we can't come up with 4, let's come up with as many as we can. We can come up with the fact that, guys, you here in a command economy, who makes the decisions, guys, here? Do we as people have a say? No, we don't have a say. It's the government. It's the higher ups. So, guys, now let's say there is a, not the whole population, but there might be a certain amount of the population, guys, that enjoys maybe go-karting. Yeah, a certain amount of the population enjoys go-karting. So if we were in a market economy, there would be someone that identified that need and allocated the resources to satisfy the need of those people. But in a command economy, those needs would be ignored by the government. So look, I have more of a priority to make sure you all have goods and services. I have more of a priority to make sure you all have defense. I have more of a priority to make sure you all have education. You think I'm going to make go-karts for you? No, right? So essentially, guys, a problem with the command economy is sometimes as society or all your needs aren't met. Whereas in a market economy, most of them tend to be met. Okay, that's one disadvantage. Number 2, guys, that whole process, it's not very, like I said, it's not democratic. It's very bureaucratic, right? As consumers, you don't have freedom. There's no choice. There is no, sovereignty on your part, right? It is all essentially that your government, they make all the calls, they do everything, right? So as consumers, there's not a lot you get. 3, let's talk about 3. So guys, another thing, let's think and see. Another thing is, guys, now there is also very little incentive for you, if you notice, to like do anything extra here. Yeah. Because I mean, they'll pay you a certain wage. They'll say, look, this is what you do. This is what you make. That's it. So guys, it's not like in a market economy where you have your own business. The more work you put in, the more money you get. It's not like that. It's not like that, right? It's not like that. It is simply, this is what you do. This is how much you get paid, right? So you don't want to, put in that extra effort. So sometimes we say it discourages incentive. It discourages incentive, right? And the last point that we can talk about is, we can say, people here, guys, in a command economy, it's very difficult to encourage innovation. Because guys, as people, you will come up with something, right? Now, for example, guys, let's say, Steve Jobs is working for a government technology firm, right? Now, Steve Jobs, guys, if he comes up with that, the iPhone for them, who puts that out there? The government. That's not his idea. He's not going to rise to the top and, make all the money for it, right? So in a command economy, we say it discourages innovation, because you get by, guys, doing the minimum. If I need to work 5 hours, I'll work exactly 5 hours. I don't need to work more than that. I'm only getting the same amount of money, anyway, right? That. Okay, so guys, those are a few disadvantages of a command economy. Okay, right. So guys, state factors other than its own price, which may influence demand for a commodity, guys, we discussed a few of these: population, income, the prices of other goods and services. Three there alone. They clearly wanted 3 factors, which is why they gave us 3 marks. Don't just explain the factors. Don't just state the factors, explain them. Okay, right. Guys, statement number 2, we're very well versed for that as well. Distinguish between the change in demand and change in quantity demand. I told you guys that at the start, right? I told you that at the start. A change in quantity demanded, guys, is a movement along the curve. What causes it? A change in the price of that good or service, right? What is a change in demand? That is when there's a change in other factors. What are the factors? These are the factors. For statement 1. Right? Those are the factors are what causes changes in the demand curve. Okay, right. So guys, law of supply for the most part is very straightforward. It's essentially the positive relationship between quantity supplied and price, right? Between quantity supplied and price. Okay. So guys, essentially there is another thing, one of the main things anyway, when it comes to why supply and price move like this or like this, move positively, is because of the fact, guys, the more you supply, your cost is also higher, right? The more you supply, your cost is also higher. Yeah. So if your cost is higher, your price needs to be higher to account for that. Yeah. So basically, guys, if you produce 5, your cost is 10. If you produce 10, your cost will be 20. So in other words, guys, when you're producing more, right, you need to increase your price as well. Okay, so that would be the main answer anyway for 3. Okay, right. Let's have a look at 4, guys. Okay. When it comes to 4, right, you are given a subsidy. So guys, let me draw this for you. Now, guys, this is equilibrium, right? But like I said, guys, sometimes the government likes to get involved and they kind of like to mess things up. Okay. So essentially, this would be the government introducing a tax. This is the government introducing a tax. Okay. Now, essentially, with a tax, guys, initially you're here, Q star, P star. At this point, right, the price the consumer pays, guys, equals the price that the supplier receives. In other words, if the consumer pays 20, the supplier also receives 20. Yeah. The consumer pays 20, the supplier also receives 20. What happens at a point like B? What happens at a point like B? At a point like B, the consumer pays this price. The consumer pays this price, right? But the supplier doesn't receive this price. The supplier doesn't receive this price. Who receives this price? Or what price does the supplier receive? The supplier receives this price. Okay. Here. So then, guys, what is the effect on your market? What is the effect on your market in terms of consumer surplus and producer surplus? Let's have a look and see. Right. So, guys, initially consumer surplus, producer surplus. Okay, right. Guys, I want to see initially, give me the letters, okay? For the triangle or the rectangle or whatever shape is here, give me the letters. What would be your consumer surplus at the start? Before the tax, okay? So from here, initially, S supply curve 1. What would be your consumer surplus initially in terms of the letters? So guys, remember this is before the tax, okay? So guys, how do you identify consumer surplus? Yeah, few responses are coming through, guys. Very happy to see. Guys, this is P star, okay? This is P star. This is P1. This is P2. Okay, if P star is a problem, guys, just write P. Okay, just write P. And this is P1, this is P2. Right. That being said, how do you identify consumer surplus, guys? What is consumer surplus? Consumer surplus can be defined as the difference between the price the consumer is willing to pay and the price the consumer actually pays, right? That is the definition of consumer surplus. Next question, how do you identify consumer surplus? Consumer surplus is the area above the price line, and below the supply curve. Below the supply curve. Above the price line and below the supply curve. So in other words, above the price line, below the demand curve. Add and below the demand curve. So this. So essentially, your consumer surplus initially, as many of you guys correctly told me, is P star AF. Right. Guys, what would your producer surplus be initially? Very well done, guys. right? It would be P star A O. P star A O. So what is producer surplus, guys? Producer surplus is the difference between the price the consumer is willing to sell for and the price they actually sell for. So what then would be the area here? It would be the area below the price line and above the supply curve. Above the supply curve. Okay, right. Now my question to you is, after the tax, this is initially, yeah, after the tax, what would your consumer surplus be after the tax? Right, guys, remember this, okay? It's above the price that the consumer pays and below the demand curve. Okay, so when we say above price line, it's the price the consumer pays. When we say below the price line, it's below the price the producer receives. Okay, right. So guys, all we have to do is just identify this area. Look for what fills the boxes. Above price line, below demand curve. Okay, so it must be this. As you guys correctly told me, P1, B, F. Okay, cool. Right, guys, producer surplus. Can you guys please tell me what that might be after the tax? So keep in mind, guys, if you're ever given a sum where you have a tax that's being introduced, remember to always, then you can't say Q equals 36 plus 4P, if this is QD, and you can't say QS equals minus 20 plus 3P, because now, guys, this is PS, this is PD. And you have to realize, guys, that PD will equal, or PS rather, would equal PD minus T. Okay, that is an important point to remember when you're incorporating. If you're given a calculation sum when it comes to taxation, that is important to remember. Okay, keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Okay, if you're given a sum, that's how you work around it. That's how you introduce tax, through this, right? And account for your prices, right? So as you guys correctly told me, again, it'll be GP2O, right? GP2O. Some of you, I think, thought this was C. Very understandable. Looks like a C as well. P2G O. Okay, right. So this is consumer surplus. Very nice. This is producer surplus. Very nice. Guys, what is this P1BGP2 or P1P2BG? What is that? What's this big rectangle sitting in the middle here between consumer surplus and producer surplus? This wasn't there before. Yeah, why is it there now? It's there now because something has happened in the market. What has happened in the market? Tax. Tax. There's a big fat tax here, right? And because of that, this rectangle, someone asks you, what is the government revenue, right? Someone asks you, what is the government revenue? You tell them the government revenue is B, G, P1, P2. This is government revenue. This is government revenue. Next. What is this triangle? What's ABG? What's ABG? ABG, guys, is essentially what we call the deadweight loss. The deadweight loss. Okay, guys, the deadweight loss is essentially the part of the consumer surplus and the producer surplus that is lost to the as a result of the tax. It is lost as a result of the tax, right? That is deadweight loss. It's gone, not there, wiped off. That's deadweight loss. Okay, guys, this diagram is very, very, very important, right? Subsidy questions, even though we just had one, is not very common, and that's why I wanted to spend this time to cover taxes with you all instead. Okay, so very, very important stuff going on here. Okay, right. So guys, also keep in mind when it comes to taxes, there is a link also to elasticity. Okay, when it comes to taxes, there's a link to elasticity, which is called the incidence of taxation or the burden of taxation. Who bears it? Consumer bears more, producer bears more. What does it depend on? Depends on elasticity. So if we have a product that is very inelastic, yeah, if we have inelastic demand, we say you can pass most of the price increase onto the consumer. Yeah. So if you have inelastic demand, who bears the bigger burden? Consumer. If you have elastic demand, guys, if you change price even by a little bit, quantity will change by a lot. So in the case of elastic demand, then the producer bears the majority of the burden. Okay, but sometimes, guys, what they do is they don't ask you about PED and incidence. They ask you about PES and incidence. Now, guys, with PED and incidence, it's very easy. It's very logical to explain, right? So with PES, it's not as straightforward. So an easy way to remember it is, if inelastic demand means greater burden for the consumer, that means elastic supply means greater burden for the consumer as well. Okay, they are opposite sides of the same coin. Okay, so keep that in mind. A bunch of related concepts that we've covered today. Okay, so guys, with that being said, we are done for the day. I will catch you all during the week on Wednesday at our next session. Guys, was everything clear? Were you all okay on everything we did today? If there's, just let me know in the chat now. And also during the week, guys, if there are any questions, any things you come across that you need clarification, I gave you my number. Please reach out. Like I said, just a call or text away. You can even get it from the WhatsApp group. Drop a text and we'll be more than happy to help. Okay. So guys, are we good? Righto, guys, most welcome. Okay, so we're looking at non-price rationing techniques. So for the most part, Roshni, that is not very essential. I wouldn't advise worrying about that too much. And let's take that conversation offline. Yeah, so you do have my number. If you're still interested in knowing about it, please do drop me a text. Firstly, I'll drop it in the chat for you guys now. I'll put it in the chat so you guys can copy that. Okay. Right. Let's reach out there. And we can talk through that. Okay. So guys, hope everything was clear. Most welcome. And yeah, have a good night, guys. Stay safe. And I will catch you all on Wednesday. Okay.